Hi, I'm Rich. Welcome to the global Cribl user group meeting. There, all done. We got a double header for you, so we might want to just jump on in. And I actually don't care which order you guys do this in. If it works for you, Eric, then Matt and Khaled. But if not, we can do it the other way around.
Good either way.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Well, Eric, why don't you take it then, just so my agenda is correct.
All right. So
Rich, you want to record? If that's
Somebody
okay.
already did, didn't they?
I don't think it started.
I did.
Yeah, it started.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, you didn't see the big sign in front of you saying it's now recording?
No, sorry. I didn't see it. Sorry.
awesome. So everyone should see my screen now. Is it coming through?
Yep. All right. And I will zip and all yours for the next, I don't know what, 20, 30 minutes, something like that.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. So MUDs are a thing of the past, but they're still running today. So what's a MUD? It's a multi-user dungeon. I'm Eric H, or Khaled in the Cribl community. And for me, Cribl is just a part of a hobby. It's a hobby that I've had since, well, I was a teen. And while I was a player back in my teen days, a MUD is like, think Dungeons and Dragons, but online, played over Telnet. So totally insecure. So why not, merge that technology with some other technologies like Cribl. So I'm going to be walking through some of my uses where I've been applying Cribl into the development work I've been doing on our MUD here, Black MUD. And there's a couple integrations that I've worked out where, like, say as a player, I can look inside the room I'm in. So here I'm at Market Square and I can see some players and stuff here, like Petra here is a person, a player, whereas the lackey here is an NPC or non-player character that's just kind of hanging out in the room. But I can type in commands almost like I was on a Linux command prompt or a Windows command prompt, except instead of trying to do some type of admin work type thing, I'm actually not working, right? Here I'm playing as an administrator, or in MUD terms, an immortal. That's kind of a cool element of MUDs back in the day is, we didn't like calling them admins. Instead, they were deities inside the gaming world. So that's where the reference to Khaled comes from, is that's my immortal self inside the game. So here we're looking at the prod version of the game. So if you wonder, like, do people still play? Yep, they sure do. We currently have, I can count here, 8 players, and then I'm currently the only active immortal on right now. And we can see some information, like 2 of these folks here, if they so want it, have the PK flag on so they can do some player killing, things like that. So to me, that's all grounds for wanting to be able to monitor, like, what's going on in the game, or maybe I want to do some game balancing of what's the average amount of damage that this player can dish out once they're at max level with the best equipment in the game. These are all the types of use cases that in the past we've never been able to reasonably be able to answer for them. I mean, yeah, we could shim some data into SQL. What fun is that? So instead, we're working in that event line processing where we can write out the logs, pick them up with, today, Cribl Edge, run them through some pipelines, and then we output the data into multiple different free repos. Why free? Because we don't have a budget. We're a MUD, technology from born out of the 70s, came about more at the start of the internet. I mean, if you heard of Zork, like, that's a single player type of MUD, it's no multi in there, where in the late 80s, early 90s, that's really when MUDs became a thing. At one point, they actually took place of about 12% of the traffic on the internet. And then starkly from there forward went down to 0.0012% or smaller. But I'm going to walk through probably the first one. I'm going to shift over from my live environment and I'm going to go over to my developer environment. So right here, clicking on this tab, you can see, we actually have a little bit of an interface here. I have a health bar and some good stuff here. If I do a chat message, it'll show up over here. So we're modernizing a little bit. But one of those integrations is, like, how about player communication? So in the game, I can say, how are you doing? And there's an input, and that goes into the room in which I'm standing. That's really where the origin of the word chat room originated, out of MUDs. Supposedly, again, that's what you read on the internet, but that is one of the things you can read on the internet, is that was kind of an origin. One of the first places where people could talk over the internet together was in a MUD type setting in a chat room. But let's look at it from a global perspective. If I want to talk globally in the game, I can gossip. And that's just the command that we're using, but I can say, hey, XPac, how's the train ride? But he's not in the game, obviously. But if I go over to Discord, there's my chat message that already popped in. So how did that work? Well, thanks to Cribl, really all of that work for that integration is taking place thanks to both Edge picking up that log, but then piping it into Cribl Cloud. And then we do a transform on that data. And on the Discord side, it's really just a webhook. So I'm using the HTTP post out to that specific webhook, and I just use a code function to specifically format that data. And so for this one, and the other example is going to be for Jira, I have written up both of the how-tos for those, and they're in the Slack channel with Fun for Functions around September 1st. If you just scroll, you want to check that out. This one was pretty straightforward and easy. I don't know if what I do is, conforms to best practices, because I just do it at a hobby. But let's say that I'm standing in this room and I'm reading this description, and I see there's a large statue of a powerful warrior that stands here in the middle of the square. I might say, well, typo, that statue looks pretty pitiful. I can't type pitiful, so we'll say lousy instead. That's easier to type. So I just submitted in a typo, and I gave some specifics, but not a whole lot. Yeah, I'm talking about a statue. It looks pretty lousy. Normally these things would go into a database and no one would ever look at them. Like that's what our current production integration does. Whereas now, I type in that typo command, and now I'm in my Atlassian Cloud free tier, because again, we like free tier stuff. I'm going to look at my issues here. This one takes a little bit more time. It's not as, nice and snappy as that webhook into it. But here's a player typo submission from Khaled. There it is right at the top. And so if I click into this, there's the submission. That statue looks pretty lousy. It was submitted by Khaled with an account ID of 2. And now I have some actual details that I automatically seeded in along with that command behind the scenes to help whoever the admin is that's going to look into this and possibly make a corrective action. Has all the details they really need. But I can say, that cow doesn't know what he's talking about. So I'm just going to delete this guy out, but that's showing what that integration looks like and how it works. And then some other aspects that we're really doing is more from the game analytics standpoint. If I go over to Grafana Cloud, which they have a nice free tier, again, the theme, 0 cost, where we get 14 or 15 days retention. But here I can observe like who's connecting into my game and playing as a player. And this is specifically for that test world. So I can kind of look at, where are the people that are playing on the test server connecting from, and then who's connecting to my telnet service, but not actually playing. All right, so I got some hits around the world. And I got one here in Finland that's really, pinging the server. And then if I go down to my SSH activity, and I don't mind showing these IPs, these are just people scanning on the internet. If you check out these IPs, I'm sure you'll find that there's some pretty bad dudes. So this is where it's at today, where I can have that visibility layer of who is going to connect in. Eventually, I'm going to seed in some gray noise enrichment on a lot of these connections, and then be able to qualify, are these guys known scanners of the internet? All right, are they malicious ones? Yep. All right, let's go ahead and add them into an auto block list, probably on the cloud layer because we're running in GCP. Also checking out Oracle Cloud because they have a pretty robust free tier for anyone interested. But looking to shim in some firewall rules more at the, the cloud management layer instead of going in on fail to ban or anything like that. Why manage on the endpoint when you can manage a layer up? Now, a little bit different is what can we do in the game? So here's looking at, my character Khaled, and where I chose to fight a combatant in the game, which I could do a fresh one and bring we would have that almost real-time visibility. But if I drill in on this data, here is that combat sequence where I can see the damage roll. So each time you make an attack, there's some almost like if in real life where you roll that 3d6 or roll the d20 to hit. All of that's taking place inside the game engine, but I can take a look at what type of rolls came out, what's my max damage throughput, what's my mean damage, and what's the minimum damage that I observed in there. So it's going to allow us to do something that we've never actually done in this mud game, which is analyze the game and do some balance. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. I plan to build this out, but this is all pretty new in the sense of recent logs. For the most part, I'm writing the generation of the logs all the way through to what am I going to do with the logs, because the game writing out these types of logs in JSON format is brand new, and the code base itself is pretty ancient in relative terms. We're one of the older Daiku style MUDs out there from 1993. There's our website. So it also looks like it's from 1998. And then here's a place, I'm going to drop this in chat for anyone kind of interested, like in the history lesson. But this is a historical Daiku style MUD list here. So, and we came online right in 1993. I'm going to drop that there. And James, that's exactly right. Logs, edge, webhook destination. I'm shimming edge to log stream in the cloud and then destination, mainly because I just want to manage all of the transformation and in log stream instead of anything on edge. Edge to me has just been my pick it up and ship it to the cloud. But wanted to have any room for questions. I can go into the Cribl interface and show some stuff there, but the Slack posts that I put together really have the meat and potatoes of the Jira integration, and then also on the webhook for Discord. If not, I can just mud a little bit, find something.
I don't have any specific questions, but just wanted to say thanks for putting together the write-up on it. It's definitely stuff we're going to be using in prod in our environment, especially for the Jira.
Awesome.
And oh yeah, in the middle of something now. Sorry. And that was posted somewhere in Slack. I couldn't find it quite quickly. Can you grab that and just repost it or something, or ping that thread to set it alive again?
Yeah, let's see which one.
I think just the different integrations. There was 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, let's see.
One of them, or one thread, or 2 threads with different bits. I don't know. I mean, just circle back around to find that and like poke at it and make sure it's easy to.
User group planning. So yeah, I'll drop this into user group planning.
Perfect.
And then I'll do the same thing with.
Yeah, I got it. That'd be great.
Cool. Any other questions? If not, I think I can hand it over.
Perfect. That sounds great. No, that was good. I liked it. And I think I used to play a lot of MUDs back, oh gosh, 30 years ago now. So yeah, they were always fun. I might just pick those back up again.
Check out Black Mud. It has
It's just-
active developers on it. you
It has
know, it's
active
great.
developers who are doing cool things.
That's right. It uses Cribl. So, hey, it can only be so bad, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be fun. But yeah, it was just a simpler time back then, you know? You had to use your imagination, and that was much appreciated.
Yep.
So in any case, so as you could see, Eric just dropped that in the user group planning stuff, so you can always get in touch with him too. And shall we move on to our next, which if I can read it here, automating Cribl replay via Phantom SOAR playbooks, something, I don't know, pulling out of S3 again. You guys would like to take it away? I don't believe, although everybody launches or everybody comes in here muted, I believe anybody at any time can just steal control and start presenting. It's fabulous.
Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Matt, you want to go ahead and start off?
Yeah, sure. My name is Matt Robinson. I'm me and Khaled on the same team over at GuidePoint Security. We're on the analytics team. We deal with a bunch of different SIMs and SOARs as well. And so we came up with a pretty cool thing, and that's is honestly pretty much all Khaled here. So wanted to do obviously, replays and think of things, on how to show that to a customer, because that's a pretty big thing these days. And especially for not wanting to ingest everything to Splunk, right? We'll just use that as the endpoint as your analytical tool. And so people can just start sending a ton of stuff to S3, and which pretty much everyone's doing. And we want to make it a little bit easy on the customers if they're using a SOAR platform. And this can definitely we're going to demo it on Phantom or SOAR, Splunk SOAR, but obviously you can change it and port it over to XSOAR, Demisto, whatnot, times, something like that. But yeah, Khaled's going to demo that and grab it from our S3 and that we have set up, and we have a data generator right on a Windows box.
Yeah, we'll be working off of past logs, so it's already stored in S3, so we'll just be querying that. Even though the environment's still generating logs now, we're just looking at S3 logs. But yeah, so just two disclaimers with what we've done. Right now, Source HTTP app natively does not handle the whole two-step auth where you do HTTP post to get that auth token to then go ahead and authenticate that way. So using the Python's request library in production, that could be configuring or modifying that HTTP app to handle the two-step auth, or going ahead and getting that first auth token and then creating an asset on the fly. But there's SOARs like Tines and XSOAR, they do handle that natively. So if you don't use SOAR and use one of the other two, you don't have to worry about that. And also that kind of goes together with this. It's the fact that the workflow itself is vendor agnostic. It's not tied to SOAR. That's just a tool that we use to do this. But yeah, so like Matt said, ultimately, we're just triggering replay from the SOAR platform, because if the analyst is living out of SOAR, you'd want them to have that capability right then and there, rather than go to another system. And that's all done with this here. The HTTP request being done, it's just a post request to the jobs endpoint. If it's a distributed environment, you just have to put in your worker group right here. And then the header, you just tie in your API token, your auth token that was received from your login API call. And then this is the body of the request that does the magic. So really you just need your ID, which would be this right here, the collector ID. So if you have multiple collectors, you can trigger whichever one you want by just calling this ID here, in the ID right here. And then the mode, it could either be a preview or a run, where if you've used collector before, you've seen that preview doesn't send it through to its destination and pipelines, rather it just keeps it in Cribl for you to take a look at the results. And then your time range type is going to be either absolute or relative, where absolute you specify the actual date, and relative is you use the -2h for 2 hours back, or it's relative on now. And then your expression, whatever you want your expression to be, whether it's just certain event codes or certain hosts or source types, so that it goes ahead and grabs it. What that ends up looking like is like this. So let's go ahead and just run that playbook real quick. So over here in Phantom, we're going to go ahead and get this prompt right here. So you see over here, we've kind of created a markdown, just a little explanation for an analyst, what to put in each field. So for the replay ID, we saw that it's called replay. So like right here. Oh yeah, and also I forgot to say, but you know, we're using Cribl's collector schema to go ahead and specify the paths that we can use those as additional filters, right? So we're gonna go ahead and use that in the expression. But here we're gonna put in replay. This, we're doing a full on run. I'm gonna go ahead and do a relative time range. I'm gonna do minus 30 days back until now. And I want everything but event code 4624. And we're gonna go ahead and run. So once we do that, we can see over here, the job just triggered. It's gonna go ahead and run. While this job triggers, we can go ahead and take a quick look at the playbook. So over here, you see, this is my prompt action where we're asking the user, this right here is that comment in the top, kind of explaining to the user, hey, this is what this field means and such. This is where we set the different prompt items, like can you select preview or run and such, and just the different fields that you get an input from. Then we're going and doing that HTTP post with the username and password data, because again, this is using Python's request library. We need that auth token. That's done by sending that over to the auth login endpoint. We form our headers out right here. We add that bearer token that was received from the auth token and add it right there to the authorization key. Then we have to figure out if it was an absolute or relative time specified, because if it's absolute, you have to convert that to epoch to send it over. So that's what this little custom function does. Then we form our payload, which is that HTTP body with the results that we were given by the user. We create the collector job. Over here is where we're using that HTTP, the Python's request post function to go ahead and pass over the endpoints, headers, and the payload to actually go ahead and create that collector job. We add a comment with the collector job ID, and then we end up building the SPL query, because you know in Splunk, the SPL query is URL encoded. So this is a single click for the user to go ahead and actually pull those results, where the index equals replay is a static value that it's defined in the logs right here, or it's in the pipeline. Yeah, it's in the pipeline. So right here, we say index equals replay. And then we go ahead and add over our expression right here. So for example, I put event code does not equal 4624. So that's going to be populated right there. And then whatever earliest and latest I added to, or the analyst specified, that's going to be added right here. And then we add that as a comment. So what that ends up looking like is like this. This is our collector ID. And then here is our search. So we can just go ahead and copy this right here. I'm gonna drop this right here. And voila, we got our results. So you see, that's pretty much it. Just a single way for the user to go ahead and replay some data from their SOAR platform that they use to investigate those events anyways, without having to really go into Cribl. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, and yes, that's it.
Questions?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I had noticed the chat just kind of stopped during that, and I'm pretty sure I saw all the faces on the screen going, "Wow, that's cool. What are they doing? What? Yeah, taking notes exactly." Which is perfect, because you know we're a bunch of nerds here. We don't mind being bombarded with information and like, "Oh, this is cool. I can always watch the recording."
And we'll share the playbook out. You guys are free to try and hack me with this username and password if you like, if you can get to my systems. But yeah, I'll go ahead and share this playbook out. It's just going to be a TGZ file with the JSON and the Python in there, and then you can do with it as you wish. You can stand up a Splunk SOAR Community Edition completely free as long as you have a system to put it on. And with that, you can just import that TGZ file, and you have this built out completely.
Cool. All right.
How do I
It's
stop?
a bit faster. That's good.
All right, there. I'm better again.
Are you all already using that with customers today?
No, this was actually a request.
Okay.
And so we built out the POC to make sure it was possible to go ahead and work. But now it's just kind of like in our toolbox.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know how to stop sharing my screen. And I have Zoom. I use this daily, but I don't know where the button is.
I don't know where the button is either. Let me.
The very top.
Hover at the top of your screen, and then you should see something pop down.
It's not.
The real
Alright.
technical part. The real technical.
Man, it usually happens at the beginning, not at the end. All right, I'll rejoin. I'll see you
Here,
guys.
I hear. Well, here, hang on. I can do this there.
Oh, okay, nice. Thank you.
I just flipped it over to only the host can share. So I'm going to turn it back to all participants because why not? I mean, yeah. There we go. Okay. Good thinking.
Khaled, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
So I know you had it as a static value for the index. Do you know how hard it would be to change that to dynamically create an index in Splunk? Or would that even be possible?
So you're saying like the collector to create a
So
dynamic?
Yeah, instead of index equals replay, you could index equals variable. And then the variable could be whatever the value is that you put in that collector job.
Yeah.
And then you're basically dynamically spinning up like an ephemeral index each time you need something for an investigation. So you could have index or INC, the incident number could be your actual index.
That'd
and
be
then you
cool.
could just have like temporary jobs, I guess, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So you need to sync, do it in Splunk too, right? So you need to be able to create the index on the fly.
Yeah.
Part of it. Right. Yeah. That'd be pretty cool,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, that would be. Somebody who's on the call is Ryan Wood. He is a REST API interface for Splunk guru. So I'm willing to bet if anybody knows about a REST endpoint to query to create an index on the fly, he does. So if you want to speak up, Ryan, please. But I'd imagine as long as you can get that index created, as far as sending it over, it shouldn't be too difficult because you just have to kind of pass that over. So I think it should work.
Yeah,
but
so,
I guess sorry.
you wouldn't necessarily. Well, you'd have to be careful spinning up brand new indexes because there's a max limit, right, of the number of indexes that are realistically going to work in Splunk. But what you can do is make that index specification a variable, and then also attach some specific identifier like the ticket ID, right, or any relevant, even down to the individual event or the query. And send those as index time fields so that even in a bloated data set in Splunk, you have an ability to search it extremely quickly. Index time fields will be sorted in the actual index models. And you can connect multiple different indexes of data together based on that joined field, right? And then you could install user control permissions, which I'm assuming the question around like setting index comes from managing users, right? You could control user access using those sort of tokens, right? So, this is replay data. I have an analyst, he's allowed to get into Splunk, but he's only allowed to search replay data, maybe, and then you use the actual token baked into their user limits.
Yep, that makes sense. That was part of the reason I asked is because of the user. The other part is for a major incident where you might be pulling back like months of data. Like if you're trying to say, hey, this is a major incident, somebody's been in our environment for 30, 60, 90 days, and But you obviously don't want to spin up a new index every time, but there might be a case where for a specific instant, you might want to.
Now, something that I think is worth to be said is, with the replay, if I'm not mistaken, it is best practice to have its own separate index. So a place where you put that and then you just go ahead and delete it. You pipe a delete to it to clean it out before you run another one. I don't think that should be dismissed, because then you have the infrastructure and RBAC set up already. And then you just send the data over to a quote unquote clean index because there are no events, right? So in my opinion, that may be better than just an ephemeral index.
Yeah, if you're deleting the replay index, that totally makes sense. Because then you don't have to worry about the other data. So
right.
You might be deleting
it fills up your disk because you're not actually deleting it.
And you might be deleting evidence. If you
that was the only thing I was going to raise, which was, well, if you end up creating a new index per, then you could also just just delete the index and make the data go away. But if you have one that you're reusing, every now and then you may have to stop and say, okay, we got to just dump this index and get rid of the actual data, because pipe delete, sure, it hides it, but it's still there taking up space.
Got to clear out the fish bucket.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to call out just related to this use case, because it is something that I think we're going to see more organizations sort of start adopting. You can actually leverage Cribl. So imagining like a Cribl pipeline, right? I've got AWS VPC flow data or network traffic data generally, which is extremely high volume, difficult to sort of manage all those different metrics all at once. You have Cribl run a buffer of that data, right? So give me a summary event of all of the IP addresses that access this load balancer in a 5-minute period, right? Then I get a list of IP addresses, and that's what gets sent to Splunk. I have an alert that, or an IOC, let's say from Threat Intel, marking one of those IP addresses as something I should look further into, right? So Splunk identifies that IP, finds the timestamps of those rolled up events that Cribl generated, sends an alert off to SOAR. SOAR reaches out to Cribl with that IP address, and Cribl queries your cheap storage where that original data was redirected to, and then pulls all that original data related to that IP address and feeds it back to Splunk, right? So you end up in a situation where you've reduced your Splunk spend by 100 to 1 as far as storage costs or overall event volume, and you've lost no fidelity overall through this sort of Cribl to Splunk to SOAR to Cribl back to Splunk pipeline that's all dynamic and responds effectively. That sort of use case where SOAR and pre-processing play on both ends of the pipeline is just going to be really interesting to see what kind of things come out there. So
I believe all you described was what I would kind of put under the giant umbrella of magic. Good magic, though.
yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild that we can do that.
Yeah, I was thinking through that going, oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's magic. All right. oh, sorry. Excuse me. All right, better again. All right, so the time has come. Actually, we have some other sort of announcements to have. Tony, are you ready for an announcement?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually ask Ben Marcus to actually join me with some news on some items with Cribl here.
Yeah, hi everyone. Ben Marcus. If you don't know me, I'm one of the new product managers here working on stream at Cribl. And I just want to mention, you may have seen Tony's announcement, but in our upcoming 4.0 release, we are deprecating, there's an older source and destination called Cribl Stream. There's a big icon you'll see, it's deprecated. In 4.0 coming up in November, we are actually removing it. So we're just making sure everyone is aware. If you are using that old deprecated option, you'll want to switch to the newer Cribl TCP or Cribl HTTP option before upgrading to 4.0. So if you have any questions on that, just reach out to anyone at Cribl. There's a Slack channel specifically for it as well in the community, but we'll be glad to help you get migrated to the newer Cribl TCP or Cribl HTTP input if you're using that.
All right. Thank you much. Was that all you guys had?
That's all I had. Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. That sounds great. So here we are coming near the end of another user group session. First off, other bookkeeping, very short, don't worry. Looking for people still to present or show something they've done, or I don't know, show their vacation pictures or whatever. For next month. Hang on, I have lost some things here. Let me find them again. Why is Zoom doing this? Doesn't matter. Anyway, so if anybody has any thoughts, ping me, or just post it in the user group planning channel. We're an accepting group there. If somebody comes up with an idea that kind of isn't very good, it'll be okay. They can withdraw it. It's fine. We're not going to criticize anyone. But for the most part, I've never heard anybody suggest anything that was in my collection of 100+ Swiss goat pictures. Nice. But I don't know, maybe we'll put you in as a quick addendum at the end. So anyway, but feel free. I've never had a suggestion that wasn't good. So let's go with it. Do we have any other things to discuss other than, if you have something you want to show, let me know and we'll figure out how to do it. I'm also available to make to provide minor help in sorting out a topic if you need to. But so far everybody's figured it out pretty well. So I think we just go with it. Let y'all do what you like. Otherwise, I guess we'll see you next month. Remember, it's like the second Tuesday or something, right? Yes, second Tuesday of November.
Yes.
AKA Patch Tuesdays.
Yes, that's true. This could be your pre-patch party. See? All right. See you guys next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one, guys.
Oh, thanks so.
Thanks.
Bye. I'll go.